Hello guys, how are you doing? I hope everyone doing okay. And thank you very much for you keep asking me how I am doing through my social media. I'm doing so far so good. Yeah, it's a hard time in Sri Lanka, but we are managing. Okay, thank you for asking. If you remember, in last year I think I started a new course in serverless. Right, I'm trying to teach serverless A to Z about everything regarding serverless. But that course wasn't much popular, and even before that I started few courses nature of a work. But what my experience is, courses is not getting popular in YouTube, and popular in the sense people can't follow one after the other in the YouTube, because more than that, most of software engineers, most of developers trying to use a YouTube to find like use cases, not to learn a subject across the board, but use cases. Even for me, what my experience is, I don't think I would prefer to use a course in a YouTube, rather than I would try to solve or try to get an idea about something I am going through or something I'm doing. So therefore, I will not continue serverless series one after the other like a full course, but I'm going to continue. I'm going to do few use cases and few solutions with serverless. But it comes to serverless, I feel like more than the entire course, it's good to go through some advanced patterns and some solutions with serverless, right? So to start that, we need to get the serverless running on with the nice frameworks and everything. So today I'm going to introduce to the serverless framework. This framework itself named as a serverless. It's like a Docker technology. You have a Docker as a tool, right? So this framework also named as a serverless. When you write serverless program on AWS especially, you can use multiple ways. You can use a CDK, you can use SAMS or AWS native libraries, frameworks to get this done, and also serverless. Serverless is a quite popular framework among software engineers because it's very easy. You just write your code, you focus on the function as serverless is designed to be, and then frameworks taking care of the deployment and the rest of the things. But when it comes to the node, especially node, people don't, software engineers not much prefer to the node. Why? Because it's not easy to code with the node, because it doesn't type sensitive. It's like almost like a JavaScript. You won't find the problem in the compile time, and because there is no compile time, and there are so many problems when you work in a large scale project with a node. So therefore, I'm going to start this series or the videos with the TypeScript. I'm going to demo these videos with the TypeScript. So serverless framework recently started to support the TypeScript. So therefore, it's easy us to get this work done. So today video, we are going to use serverless framework with TypeScript. Right. Before we do this, let's create a project first, right? So I'm not going to cover how to install serverless on your machine, a serverless framework on your machine, and it's very simple. npm I minus g serverless, it gets installed, right? So I already installed serverless here. If we check the version, we have, I think I have something with the version 3. Okay, yeah, I have 3.0.1 core. Okay, so how I can create a project is very simple. SLS is a short term for serverless. You can write the serverless or you can write the SLS, and then create, and then you need to tell what is the template you are using. Are you going to write the serverless code with the Java, or you're going to write the serverless code with the Node, or you're going to write serverless code with the TypeScript, right? So what I'm going to use is AWS Node.js TypeScript template, right? TypeScript template, and my project is, right, let's say employee service. Okay, employee service. Here, I'm not going to explain what is serverless and how serverless work, why should we go for serverless, and what is the difference between microservice and serverless. I have explained all those things. There is a playlist called Serverless in my channel. You can go there. There are, I think, 4 or 5 videos. There we learn step by step what the serverless is and how serverless works, and what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, why we should not go to serverless and why we should go to the serverless, right? And what is the advantage of serverless, so many things, okay? Right, so our project created. If you go here, employee service. Now we can open this project using Visual Studio Code. So if you create a project with Node.js, serverless Node.js, then it won't have these this much of folder structure, because you understand TypeScript, you need to compile as a JavaScript, right? So then you need the TS configuration files, right? You have a TS config file, and this one is very important. This is your serverless file which is describing, right? So we have a package JSON file, which bunch of packages. So now first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install this package, these packages on my project, right? So this npm library. So npm I will do the job for me. Okay, until I get that get installed, let me to explain different things to you. So now you can see this folder structure. You have a functions. They come with the example function called hello, and then hello will this have index file to export this function, and then we have a libs. Libs directory is there you to use a kind of a common libraries. For example, database connection, caching or Redis type of sort of connection. If you're dealing with some sort of token, then you can have this token validation or token generation or that kind of a common service, can be utility services type of thing. So libraries, right? Those will go into this directory, but in your microservice platform, the APIs will directly go here. So what is the serverless and microservices? I explained this in detail in a different video, but here I'll take a 30 seconds to explain that. Microservices architecture, serverless is an implementation way to do it, right? One of a way to do it. You can use a microservice with a Spring Boot, and you can deploy in the EKS, you can write a microservice with Java, and you can deploy as a serverless. It's a different. So it's still microservice practices and principles applied here, right? So now, still it's getting installed. So now we are going to do is, meantime, I'm going to create a package, right? So, I'm going to create a function. The function mean this is one of my endpoint. Let's say employee service has an endpoint to get employee, right? With the given employee ID, get an employee, or get all employees, right? Get all employees. So that means employees endpoint. Right, in the microservice patterns, we learn how to name the endpoints in the REST services. Okay, so now installation complete. Now what I need is, I need the IAM account to deploy this on the AWS. How this works is, this framework help you to write your code. You just focus on your code, and then when you say SLS deploy, it will create your CloudFormation scripts, and then it will push into the S3 bucket, and from there it will deploy to the API gateways, lambdas, S3 buckets, whatever you use in this API, it will automatically create those things, right? It's very easy. We can see this, right? To get that done, you need the AWS account, right? So I'll show you how to do it, how you can do it. You go to IAM, and then you need to create an account. But little catch here, you need administrator account in order to get this work. But when you work on a real project, I understand you cannot do the administrative account for the developers. You don't give the administrative account for the developers, right? To overcome that, we have a workaround for that, and we can discuss that in like one of our upcoming videos. And I'm going to create a user here. The user name would be, because since I'm going to delete this user immediately, because you're going to see my access keys and account detail, so I'm going to delete this. Okay, so my user is SLS TEMP user, right? And this is the access key user. I don't need the password for this user, right? Go to the next level and attach existing policy, and the policy would be administrative access, right? I will show you how you can overcome this problem using code pipeline and code builds. And this is cool. I don't need to create the tags, and then next it create the user, right? So now I'm going to create a profile for this user, right? I want to create a profile on my machine. For that, you need to install AWS SDK, and I'm not going to demonstrate and show how to do it. You can Google it. You have all the commands available. Now, AWS configure, and my profile is, let's say, SLS. Right, serverless deployment profile. Okay, and then it's asking me account access key ID, right? So this is my access key ID, and I'm going to add it here. And access secret key, I'm going to show this, but don't worry, I'm going to delete this as soon as I complete the recording, so you cannot access using this one. And default region, I'm going to use US West 2 as a default region, and output format is none. And so now I have created a profile here. Now what I can do is I can come back to my project and I can tell serverless, hey, you need to use this profile to deploy. Right? You need to use this profile to deploy. We'll see there is an error in the serverless file. Let's see what is the error. Okay, it's like a false alarm. It went away. Right, so let's see. Let's go back here, and we can configure the profile. Right, so profile name is, what was the profile I gave here? SLS. Right, the profile name is SLS. Okay. So now when I give the deploy command, serverless will use this SLS profile in order to deploy this project, right? So now let's go and create a new function here. So I'm going to create a function, and let's say greeting, and greeting is our function. Okay, so for the greeting I'm going to create the handler.ts file, right? So const greeting equal async, and I'm going to take the event. I'm not going to use the event here, but I'm going to take it as a like template for this one. And yeah, we can return the event even. Okay, so now if you go and check this project, you can see here they have used some util functions, right? I will explain this one. If you need a post request, if you need to use some kind of a request validation, they use the midify, and for that we can create a schema, right? You can create a schema here. You can see it has to have a name, and then what we do is here in the index file we create the request. What is the request validator? And then also in the header, in the handler file, you can see they are using this midify to trigger this validation, right? And also you can have this one, the validated event API proxy event. So this also will do the request response validation, right? But when we have all these jargons, it's complicated. You don't know why we need this. So we are going to create a simple thing which we don't need any of this, and in future videos, case by case, we can use these things. Okay, so now if I go here in this library file, API gateway file, you can see here it has some response format message, right? I'm going to rename this one as let's say success response, right? And then I'm going to copy and paste this one, and I'm going to create the error response as well, right? I'm going to create a error response, right? Client error response. Okay, so this will be 400. So if we have something's wrong with our request, we can show this one. Okay, so now we don't need the schema. Okay, and what you can do here in this one, I'm going to return, right, success response. And for the success response, I am passing the message as hello from serverless base lambda. Okay, so that's it. That's the message I am passing. Okay, and now I'm going to export this. Export main equal export const main equal this greeting. Okay, so this I'm going to, because I don't need to use the midify. For the index file, I'm just going to copy and paste this one to save some time, and then we can customize it. Okay, so we can go to index here. We don't need the schema file, right? And then we don't need this part, right? My request would be get, and my endpoint would be greeting, right? Get request and the greeting endpoint, right? So now I need to export this from this common. I don't need this hello. Let's delete this one, right? So let's move to the trash, and then from here I need to export this as a greeting. I mean, you can keep this and export new line, but since I deleted that, I'm going to use this one. And I come back to serverless, and we don't have this anymore, right? So we can use the greeting. And again, keep in mind, you can write new line, but you don't need to customize. But not the hello, this will be greeting, right? So, and you go here, and as a function, you put the greeting. Technically, we are done, right? We just create the API. So now, if you want to deploy this to AWS and if you're going to test, it takes a lot of time, right? To deploy and test something wrong and deploy wrong, test wrong, something like that. So to solve this problem, you have a simple solution called Serverless Offline, right? Serverless Offline, okay? So this will install the plugin for us. What this does is it simulates your AWS environment in local. So you don't have to deploy this every time. You can try your code and you can test it. You can debug it. When everything is ready, you can deploy, right? It can save tons of time, also your bandwidth, right? Because every time you upload this, it send files to the AWS and you can save tons of your bandwidth and as well as your time, okay, especially time. Okay, so now plugin is installed. So I just need to tell SLS offline, right? SLS offline, and this will run this my project. It will first compile it and generate all my CloudFormation script, and based on that, it will set up the local environment, right? So it gives you the endpoint. So this is it gives you the endpoint. So you what you can do is just copy the endpoint and go to your browser and just add it here, okay? And you will see it's working, right? It's working, perfect. So now my test is complete. Now what I need to do is I want to deploy, right? Deploy is again very simple. And since I have configured all those profiles here, deployment would be very quickly simple. But I will introduce you a few more properties. You can make it perfect, right? So inside here, you can use the stage. The stage mean, so we are still on this stage, right? Dev. So this stage will come as the end of your URL, right? So let's say your hostname /dev/ your API, right? And then we can also name the stacks, right? We can also name the stack we need. Why this is important? Because then AWS will not generate any stack names for you, right? AWS will not generate any stack name for you, right? If you see this, it says service name and the stack and the stage. So like if you deploy the multiple stage, you will have a multiple stack file. That's cool, right? Okay, so there are a few more properties you can add here, like you can control the memory and you can do many things which not scope in this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy. So now it's deployed and it will give you the endpoint, right? So it says this endpoint, and let's go back here and put this endpoint here, okay? Wow, it's working, right? So we read the API and we just deployed, right? We didn't handle any CloudFormation script. We didn't create any of these right-click open tool, anything, nothing. We just deployed automatically, right? So now it deployed to the default US East 1 region. So now let's say we need to, for some reason, you need to remove this from the AWS. Okay, because it creates so many things. It creates API gateway and it creates a lambda, and if you ask, it will create some AWS user profiles and so many things, right? So you need to remove all those things at once. It's hard to remove everything one by one, okay? So you just need to tell SLS remove. Okay, let's remove this and deploy on a different region, right? So I'm going to introduce few properties while it's removing. Okay, so as a stage, then stack name we set, and then also you can set the API name. Then the API will be this dedicated name. Okay, so I'm going to say API name, and here what I'm going to do is instead of this one, because this is not a stack, I'm going to remove this and I'm going to keep this as a very simple service/stage. That would be the API name. Okay, and here then we can set the region. What is the region this need to be deployed? Okay, this need to deploy US West 2. That's the region I want. Okay, and also I need the regional employee deployment, right? Endpoint type, if it is a private, you can tell it's a private, but I need the regional employee deployment, right? So we'll see how we can do the private API deployment in future. Okay, so now previous API remote, see how easy it is. It just deployed and remote. So if we go back here again, it will not work, right? It will say forbidden because still you have the APIs is maybe being deleted, so it's a forbidden because you don't have access it. So now I fix my code, and let's say I do little change to my code, right, based on lambda on US West 2, right? Okay, cool. And now I'm going to deploy this again, SLS deploy. Okay, there are so many other things you can do with this offline plugin. While it's running on the server, you can see the logs from your console, right? Because let's say you deployed something and something is not working, and you can ask this serverless offline to listen your function, and then meantime you send the request and you can see the logs here, right? There are so many fancy things you can do with this one. So now you can see it is getting deployed to US West 2. Previously it was US East 1, then now it's US West 2 because we configured this one here. So now it's deployed, and if you go here, you can click this one, and you can see it's a US West 2, and I'm going to open new tab and enter. Alright, it says in the US West 2, right? Our update is there. Okay. So now this API doesn't work because it was in our previous location, and this one is working. Okay. So now this is it for this video, but we are going to do some more advanced things with this one. How you can do something like how you can do the caching, and how you can dealing with SNS, SQS, and let's get a use case by use case, not as a course, but let's take one use case and then let's see how we can implement, and what are the best practices you can follow when you're implementing these on the AWS. Okay, so then thank you very much for watching, and make sure you subscribe so you can see the upcoming videos, and also I'm pretty sure you like this video, isn't it? So click the thumbs up. Then we'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, take care.